You think it's going to be better this year as far as just getting the ball over the plate?
I do. I think there's a couple factors here, and that's a really good question, Pat. We've got amateur pitchers throwing to a professional strike zone, right?
Mhm.
So, like balls that are 6 inches off the plate are called balls. And, I look at the videos from, 2017, quite a bit and give comparisons to our pitchers or, information like Michael Byrne, for example, who's on our staff. There was balls that are 6 to 7 inches off the plate that were called strikes. Now they're not, right? So we've got amateur pitchers throwing to professional strike zone, like I said before. And, the other thing is people have to keep in mind our pitching staff the last 2 years was the youngest pitching staff in the SEC.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Meldon Law Studios at the Hacienda. Okay, and welcome into another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. It's great to be here. I am wearing, you can't really see it, but I am wearing my Indiana t-shirt that came in the mail yesterday. I did order one. And it's one of those things where I go, if you guys win this game, I will buy a t-shirt from you. And once that happened, I was committed. So, yeah, I'm excited that it came. We were at a funeral yesterday, which was very much sad and happy at the same time. It was an Irish funeral, so that's the way it goes. But Karen's uncle passed away. But it was good seeing a bunch of people I hadn't seen in a long time. Anyway, got home, watched the Florida basketball game, went to bed. Didn't get anything done. I had to get up early this morning and get it done. But we have a good show for you, and it should be a lot of fun. Kevin O'Sullivan's going to join us a little bit later. We'll talk about this year's Gator baseball team. I know you're excited about that and what's going on with him. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier, Reese Davis will be on. Monday, he'll take Coach Spurrier's place. His coach goes to watch Scotty coach at Dallas, I think it is, in the UFL. And then on Thursday of next week, Riddell Anthony is going to join us. So we got a lot of things we can talk to him about. And then we come back with Coach Spurrier. So bam, 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 bam. We just keep coming at you with really good guests. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let us go. For the last time, we're saying this, let us go to our Royal Blue starting five. And we appreciate Randy Royal at Royal Blue. We have a new sponsor coming on, Money Metals. And they will join us on Monday, of next week, because that's a new month, right? So look forward to talking to them. But we did appreciate what Royal Blue did for us, and they came on at a time we needed a sponsor for this segment and did a great job. All right, so let's get to our starting five. It is number one. I don't know that I've ever done this before. I might have turned off a Gator game. I remember, and this is going way back, Florida's playing Missouri in the Sugar Bowl in 65, I know, and they were getting killed. It was 20-0, as everybody knows the story about that. And I said, I got to go for a walk. I can't take this. So I walked all the way down to the beach and back, came back and found out that Florida had lost the game 20-18. Had my dad had to explain it to me. Anyway, this was different. I don't know that I've ever gone to bed with 4 minutes to go in a Florida basketball game. That's how far ahead they were. They ended up winning the game 95-48. And it was a combination of Florida playing at the elite level we love to see them play at, and South Carolina not being very good. I mean, they just aren't. And they missed some shots. And then once it got ugly, it got uglier because they just said, there was a lot of quit in them, I thought. There wasn't any in Florida, and Florida was going to keep its foot on the gas, and that was great to see. Everybody play good. I'm not going to single out. There's no point in singling. I mean, I could single out Klavchar and Hauk, and the fact that Xavier Lee had 9 assists. Condon played better than he played. Obviously, that game That game Saturday was not good for Alex Condon. He had 1.4 turnovers, came back and almost had a triple double in this game. Chinyalu was Chinyalu. They shot 62%, which, when you shoot like that, you're not going to lose too many games. And you win the rebounding battle 45-24. I could keep giving you stats, but clearly when in 32-3 on fast breaks, that was pretty good. And that was the other thing. Florida, when they miss, and they missed a lot, South Carolina, Florida got that ball and got out and got a lot of easy baskets. My man Isaiah Brown, who I love that guy, if he can start making shots like he's starting to make, what an asset he is, because there's nobody that can jump, has a vertical like he has in terms of your height proportionate to how high you can get up on the backboard. I like him as a player. So that was certainly exactly what they needed. They needed to answer for the way they played Saturday. Saturday was not good at all because they played like crap. They made a great 10-minute comeback, tied the game, and then played like crap again. Look, you know me, I'm going to tell it like I see it, but that's the way it was. And I know that Todd was not happy, nor should he have been. And again, he doesn't, sometimes it's not always by chewing guys out or screaming or yelling. It's not the Norm Sloan approach, or even Billy Donovan had that kind of approach where he would get on these guys pretty good. My impression is that Todd just tries to explain it to them a little bit better and say, look, guys, here's what we didn't do well. Here's what we need to do better. Now, he does get fired up, as we know. There's been a backboard or two, a whiteboard, I should say. They got destroyed. Anyway, was it last year that he destroyed that whiteboard and they made Florida pay for a new one or something? Yeah, there was something weird like that. Anyway, so look, it's fun, and yet it's not fun. You want a game that's competitive, and I watched the other games, basketball games, all week, in the SEC especially. And all you're rooting for is competitive games. But when Florida's playing, obviously you want them to blow them out so you don't have to be nervous. But that was weird. I didn't expect anything like that. Let's get along to number 2 on our Royal Blues starting 5, which is that sets up a really big game in Alabama. Of course, Alabama, it's not in Alabama, it's in Gainesville. But Alabama, it's a Sunday game, 1:00 game. I know the people are going to be fired up for it. It's going to be a great crowd. The Bediako thing is a big factor in it as well. Of course, those of you who don't know, the judge recused himself because he is a booster with Alabama. Oh, shockingly, he said, yes, you can play. In fact, you can play for 10 more years. So there's going to be another judge assigned, but he's playing against Florida. And, certainly what Todd Golden said when he said it, I went, ooh. But, Pat, every Monday we have Steve Spurrier on. We love it when he says those kind of things. We loved it when he was a coach and he said those kind of things. Sometimes we get a little bit too worried about what is being said and whether it's, going up in the bulletin boards. But I look, once the game starts, it doesn't matter. Whoever makes good coaching moves, whoever adjusts, whoever shoots well, what happened in that game last night. If you watched any of it, Florida made everything and they missed everything. Sometimes it's that simple, and it's just another example of how every game's its own game, and basketball no different than football. Just because something happened doesn't mean it'll happen again. And we saw this with Auburn last night. Keyshawn Hall in the first half against Florida had 22 points, which I was stunned by, that anybody could score 22 and a half against Florida. In the second half, I think he had 2 or maybe 3 points, and they still won the game. But that is what happened. This game against last night they were playing. Auburn is playing. I'm trying to remember who they played. Auburn is playing Georgia, right? No, Tennessee, Texas. That's who it was, Texas. So they're playing Texas. He scores, I think he had 4 or 6 in the first half. And you're like, oh man, that was a fluky half again. Then he scores 28 in the second half. Sometimes it's just hard to understand how things happen. They just happen. Um, so look, the bottom line is once the game starts, it's all that's going to matter. Florida needs to play efficient basketball. I'm not asking for 800 dunks and 90 made threes. I'm just saying play efficient basketball, find a way to win the game. Win the game. That's all it's I'm a big believer, as you know, if you listen to my podcast or read my stuff on Patreon, I'm a big believer in win by one. Because you win, that's all that really matters. Well, you only won by one against this team. You won. That's all that matters. And that's in football too. Win by one. Winning and losing. That's why they keep score. Coach Spurs taught me that very well. So we'll see what happens Sunday. That'll be a fun game. Florida versus Alabama, 1 o'clock. We'll get to where it's on TV as well. Let's get to number 3 on our Royal Blues starting 5. Brought to you by Randy Royal over at Royal Blue Yacht Sales, of course, and that is the SEC and what happened this week. It's still a wide open race. A&M still leading, but they're a game behind in terms of how many games they played. They took a day, I guess maybe it was a school break off. But anyway, but obviously Auburn beating Texas. Then Texas had the lead for most of that game, and then Auburn came back and won. So totally different game than what they had Saturday, but that's it. Everything is different. Vanderbilt spanking Kentucky was certainly. I did not watch much of that game because it was coming. It was a 9 o'clock game, and I watched a little bit of it, and then I kind of followed on my phone. And once it got to be like, I think it was like 48-24 or something like that, I went, well, there's another game I don't need to watch. And then Tennessee beating Georgia. I watched that a little bit at the end of that game. Game went to OT. That was a fun game to watch too. So look, there are a lot. I've said this 100 times, but I'll keep repeating it. The SEC's got really good teams in it. I don't think it has elite teams this year. I don't think they have. And again, Florida and Auburn last year both were in the Final Four. You also had an Arkansas team that had big wins in the tournament. I don't think they have those kind of teams this year. I think they've got a lot of teams that could make noise, could get hot, could get on a run, but I would not be wanting to pick them to do that. Florida may be the best team still in the SEC. I know Texas A&M's leading the conference, but Florida may be the best team, and I don't think anybody's thinking they're going to repeat, though. They could. Everything's possible. My point is the league is really good. It's not 14 deep the way it was last year. It's about 10 deep, maybe 11, but it's still really good, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch it down the stretch. Let's get to number 4 on our Royal Blues starting 5, and that is the big news of the week, which was Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame, which has turned into this ginormous story. Like, he'll get in next year. And look, we know what happened here. It's pretty obvious that not so much Deflategate, but Spygate caught up to him. And look, there's most of the people that are voting on this are media people, right? And if you're a jerk to the media, you're sometimes it's going to come back to bite you. And so you make him sit a year and say, you Deflategate, Spygate, but my wife asked me this. She goes, do you think if he doesn't have this young girlfriend and was kind of a disaster at North Carolina, all the negative press and everything, he would have gotten in? And I said, that is a great question that I don't know the answer to, obviously. But look, would he have gotten in? I'm still stunned that he didn't. but I do kind of enjoy that he's got a twist in the wind a little bit. Only, but not that I have anything against him as a coach. I kind of like the Patriots. I didn't like them all the time, but there were Patriot teams that I liked sometimes, and I'd root for them in one game, but not maybe not. They were kind of one of those in between teams for me. But I respect what Brady and Robert Kraft and certainly this year and what Belichick were able to do. He doesn't get him, which is, it's certainly ridiculous, but I kind of love it because it's a big story. It's a bigger story than if you got in, right? If you got in, nobody would be even talking about it. Big deal. How hard was that to do? You sat out a year and boom, you're in. Um, it's kind of fun. Kind of a fun story. The other thing is, Eli Manning not getting in again, which I'm a little surprised at that as well. Now, think about it. There's 50 guys sitting around in a room. There's a couple of women I know. And, they're making decisions and people are lobbying and somebody gets up and makes a presentation for that player, and Sam Kavaros, I think, is still doing it for Jacksonville, and he'll get up and talk about Fred Taylor. And Sam had a lot to do with Jack Youngblood getting it, even though it wasn't his team. He talked about it a lot. In fact, he talked about it on the radio with us. Anyway, and then they sit around. They go, "Hey, look, if Bill Polian's going to make the argument that, hey, look, this guy cheated, and it affected us because we were in their division, and I'm not going to vote for him." And I encourage other people to make him wait a year and have a punitive damage for his cheating. And he started lobbying people. Now, I don't know that to be true, but it sounds like that's what happened. And my thing is, it's kind of funny, It's funny that people hold grudges like that. And it's funny that he holds grudges. And it's funny that he doesn't get in. And this is a guy who loves Canton, Ohio, loves everything about it, studies the history of the game. So anyway, but Manning, it is a complicated thing. Won 2 Super Bowls, beat Tom Brady in both of them, I believe, right? But if you look at him on a year-to-year basis, the numbers don't add up. But if you add them all together, they add up, and they're very nice. But if you like year by year, somebody did an analysis of this because way more than I wanted to pay attention to it. But I'm a little surprised at that. I'm obviously surprised at both of them not getting in. But it is tough. It is tough. It is tough to get in. It is a big deal. Not like the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is not a big deal anymore now that Shedeur Sanders is going, and everybody's mad at him, even though it's not his fault. But he 7 touchdowns and 10 picks, and he goes to the Pro Bowl. Well, because everybody else turned him down. Everybody was either hurt or Trevor Lawrence turned him down. Said, I don't want anything. I don't blame him. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Let's move along and get to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5. I did want to talk a little bit about gymnastics coming up on Friday night. I got a group coming over here, my niece and her kids, and there's a friend. And anyway, they're so excited about coming over here. In fact, I got to make a call to the swamp and make sure they get taken care of over there at the swamp. And I know Ryan will do that because he's a good man and he loves to take care of people and make them happy. We'll get to the swamp in a minute. Anyway. They're coming over because Florida gymnastics is number 3 against number 6. Florida, you go, what? Florida was number 1. They won. Well, it's all based on what your score is. It's kind of a silly way of doing it. To me, it would be, I just don't think they think there are enough people to get together that are going to vote with a lot of smartness. You know what I mean? It's just easier to let the scores. What's your average score? Then that's where you get locked in. And it's fine because that doesn't really matter. But it does give you an indication of where these teams are. Florida at number 3, Arkansas at number 6. That is 7:15 is when that's going to start. So that's a little bit later than normal. Certainly that place will be packed as well. Nice weekend for Gator fans. You come up, you watch gymnastics, number 3 against number 6, then you go watch your ranked Florida basketball team against Bediako, who I'm sure the Rowdies are going to be all over him with their little sheets. They've finally gotten into that a little bit more about having a sheet of things to yell at players. I think that originated at Duke, actually. Anyway, gymnastics, big meet, and it'll be fun to watch. I can't wait to watch it. It's on ESPN2, so just want to make sure we gave them a shout out. There's a lot going on in this city. A lot going on. In fact, the women play also basketball. Sunday, I believe it is. Yeah, Sunday. I got it written down here somewhere. Maybe not. I thought I wrote it down. Anyway, all right. What we need to do is get out of here for a break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by the man himself, Kevin O'Sullivan. Talk a little Gator baseball here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging. Coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. All right, it may be a new year, but it doesn't mean you have to back off any of your goals as far as losing weight. I know I've been working even harder on it, and of course I get an assist from BMI TeleMed. They help us out with our New Year's resolutions, even if I've already broken 2 of them. Not the food ones, though. Weight loss is your goal. Get with BMI TeleMed. They use GLP-1 medications, and they are individualized, and that's the great thing. I've been through this, and Charlie, just talking to him, it was so great to make him understand, and he understood what I was doing. It's not about just losing weight. It is about keeping it off. You know that. We're all excited about the new year, and we're going to lose weight, but when you lose it in the first month, then you got to keep going. BMI TeleMed is sensible. It's straightforward. It's affordable. No contracts or hidden costs. BMI TeleMed is donating $1 for every pound you lose to the Florida Victorious Foundation. So go Gators. I'll join the listeners on this podcast who've already lost over 600 pounds. Are you kidding me? I'm 60 of them right there. All right. Contact BMI TeleMed today at 727-383-1677.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging. Coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, and it's a great pleasure to bring on a good friend and a guy who does a great job at the University of Florida, of course, Florida baseball coach Kevin O'Sullivan, or as we all know him, Sully. Who was the first guy to ever call you Sully? Was that like somebody in high school, or?
No, I think it was probably my dad way back when, because he was called Sully too.
Yeah. Well, it's a good Irish name, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
I had an Irish funeral yesterday, so that was pretty cool. You know, a couple of pints were hoisted. Let's just put it that way. Hey, I'm sure that with all the craziness that's gone on since last year, and Duralman leaving, and all the stuff that happened, it didn't end the way you wanted it to, obviously. But you were just probably glad to get back on the field to start this campaign towards 2026.
Yeah, it was a different off season, but I'm excited to be back. Slater's here with us, obviously no stranger to our man, but yeah, it feels really good to be back.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, it feels like you've got a pretty good team. I mean, I know Baseball America and some of the other things came out around 13, 14, 15. But of course, as you know, those things don't matter, but it's always good to see what you're able to do. How were you able to hold that recruiting class together too?
Yeah, it was obviously a little bit different, but I think we only lost like two at the end. But we kept everybody together, and I know all the guys that are coming next year are excited about being Gators, and yeah. So I mean, everything was fine. Everything went fine.
What is now that you've had a little bit of time in the new ballpark? Are you seeing it be? I mean, you're already recruiting well. You always are doing it. You always are saying, "Look, put me in a barn. We're still going to recruit." But have you seen a difference in people walking in there and saying, "Hey, this is pretty cool. I'd like to play here"?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously the facilities in the SEC in general, whether it be um, facilities do matter, and I think that Conjure Ball, any facility in the country, let alone the SEC. So obviously it does help.
Okay, so let's talk some baseball, and pitching is where it all starts, as you know. You know all about that. But it feels like the starting rotation is going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, it does. Obviously, we get back Liam and Aiden King, and um, there's obviously some competition for the third spot. But right now, it probably looks like Cooper Walls, the transfer we got out of the University of Hawaii, who's been throwing the ball really well, and which is going to give us some more depth um, in the bullpen. We still got to figure out the closing role, but yeah, the pitching is probably going to be the strength of our club this year, which I feel a lot more comfortable in coaching teams like this instead of relying on the 3-run homer and those types of things. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, and as long as we stay healthy, I think we'll be right in the mix at the end like we usually are.
Well, that is the key to everything is staying healthy too. And you already had that injury during the fall camp. The kid from JU that
Yeah.
blew his that was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. Unfortunately, I wasn't here for that, but yeah, he's a great kid. We've actually committed his younger brother. Great family. Obviously, it's unfortunate, but he's handling it great, and can't wait to get him back.
Well, it's certainly interesting to see the guys that are still back for this year's team. I mean, I know you lost some guys to the portal, but most of them were just backups. I mean, was there anybody you lost in the portal that you were, worried about leaving here?
No, and we've been very fortunate, that way, Pat. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Um, we haven't really lost people in the portal that we wanted to keep, or felt like they were going to be key pieces to the following year. So, you know, like I said, I know a lot of other schools are going through that, but we haven't gone through that. Not saying that we won't, have that issue down the road, but for the most part, we pretty much kept our teams intact from year to year.
What about this kid, Ethan Sorowek? I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? He everything I'm hearing is he's got a chance to be really special.
Yeah, but he's like everybody else. He's only a sophomore, and he had, I think, 16 at bats his freshman year. Obviously, had a great summer in Northwoods League, but I think he had 2 home runs yesterday. Um, yeah, he's got a chance, to be a really good player. But we are relying on him to be a middle of the bat or, a middle of the bat, in the
Yeah.
middle of the lineup.
Yeah, and obviously Brendan Lawson coming back, and you got Cade But if Cade Curlick stays healthy, that's huge, and to have him back is certainly big, and he needs to. He had a little yips last year, but I think he'll be okay now that he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he got hurt. I think it was the Miami series. He dove for a ball to his left, and and missed the entire year. But and then the year before, he played with a hand that was broken for a good part of the year. He's dealing with a little bit of an oblique issue right now, so we're trying to be a little cautious with that. But no, getting Cade Curlin back is going to be huge for us for sure.
And at shortstop, you're gonna have a transfer in there.
I don't know. We're still fighting through that right now. We've got some different options. You got You got Brendan Lawson, who's taking a lot of reps at short. You got Colt Myers. You got, Sam Miller. Colton Schwartz has taken some reps there. So we've got 3 or 4 guys that have been taking a lot of reps. So that's probably that spot, and the closer role are 2 of the positions that probably are still a work in progress, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm sure Barbieri is going to be part of that closer role, at least in some form. Last year there was times when you'd walk out to that mound with a little disgust on your face, just for different guys just not throwing strikes. And I mean, that you're yelling at them to do that. I'm yelling at them to do that. The fans are yelling at them to do it. You think it's going to be better this year as far as just getting the ball over the plate?
I do. I think there's a couple factors here, and that's a really good question, Pat. We've got amateur pitchers throwing to a professional strike zone, right? So, like, balls that are 6 inches off the plate are called balls. And, I look at the videos from, 2017, quite a bit, and give comparisons to our pitchers, or, information like Michael Byrne, for example, was on our staff. There was balls that are 6 to 7 inches off the plate that were called strikes. Now they're not, right? So we've got amateur pitchers throwing to professional strike zone, like I said before. And, the other thing is, people have to keep in mind, our pitching staff the last 2 years was the youngest pitching staff in the SEC. And I don't care how talented somebody is, but when you're 18, 19, and you're pitching against 22, 23, 24-year-olds, it does make a difference. And we obviously want to be active in the portal, but there's some things that you need to have to be active in the portal, obviously. It comes down to, the financials and some other things. But the one thing we have done, the last 2 out of the last 3 years have gone to Omaha. And no team has started out 1-11 like we did last year in the league since 1991, I believe, when the SEC expanded and turned it around. I think we went 14-4 the last 18 games. No one's made that type of turnaround. And the freshmen did get better. And I think, people want to focus on the 1-11 start. But for me, as a coach, I'm more proud of the 14-4 finish rather than the start. So it could have got away from us, and we didn't allow it to happen. We stayed positive. We kept working. And, we obviously didn't finish the season like we wanted to, but there's only 4 teams in the entire country that went to the World Series 2 out of the last 3 years, and we're one of them. So, we're a year better, we're a year older, and I expect us to be right in the mix again.
Yeah, I know you had a big NIL dinner last week, and a lot of players came back. Harrison Bader and Cags and all those guys, and Wyatt, to come back to help support it. And it sounded like that went real well.
It did. All the credit goes to Gator Boosters and Florida Victorious and Zach Cronin on our staff that kind of put this thing together. And I was overwhelmed, to be honest with you. The way it was put together, the way, the response that we got from everybody involved, it was awesome. I couldn't have asked for a better event. And I can't wait for next year, honestly, to do it again. And I think maybe we might change the date, maybe do it before a football game on a Friday night. But it was hugely, successful for sure.
That's great. That's great to hear. Coach Kevin O'Sullivan coming to us on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. Let's talk a little bit about the SEC, which I'm guessing is not going to be very good this year. It's never any good, as you know. But I mean, it's crazy because there's schools in this league that have a little more money than some schools. That, and that's something you got to battle.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. Every year it seems like I say the same thing. The league is getting better and better. And this year I'll say the same thing. It's like, anybody can beat anybody on, any given weekend. And I've always said it's not who you play, it's when you play them. Because obviously there's going to be ups and downs with every team. And you could play a certain team on a weekend and they're on a 6 or 7 game winning streak and they're feeling good about themselves. And you catch them at the wrong time. or you can catch a team that's really talented that's going through their downs. And yeah, this year's no good. It's going to be no different. But with Liam on Fridays and Aiden King on Saturdays, and maybe Cooper on Sundays, should give us a chance every weekend. And when we've been really good, we've always had a good number one or a talented number one pitcher. We've always had a closer. But the thing that kind of gets missed sometimes is that number three starter. And
Right.
when our third guy is better than your third guy, and you could split one of those first two games, you got a chance to win every series. And, look no further than like Jackson Kowar, who was our third starter in 17. I think he was 11-0. We had a chance to win every series, right? So, and Cooper's got a chance to do that. So I'm excited about him. I'm excited about the entire pitching staff. But we do have some roles that we still have to figure out.
Yeah, it feels like you got a lot of arms. Billy Barlow is another guy I didn't even mention who, transferred in and would battle and battle and battle, and you could get some outs from him, and that could be another, just filling out middle innings could be a big part of it too.
Yeah, Billy's had a great preseason, had a really good fall. And then the left-handed situation is better for us this year. We have a kid named I call him Ernie. It's Ernesto Lugo, who's from the West Coast, but he's going to be invaluable. And as the season goes on, we're going to continue to talk about him. I think his role is going to be really, really important for us. And it's been a while since we've had a really reliable left-hander coming out of the pen, and I foresee him being really valuable.
All right, it is time for us to play the game, yes, no, where, maybe, with Kevin O'Sullivan. It is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. And if you mention that you listen to this podcast, you can get free French fries with your order at Big Mills Cheesesteak, the place to go for sausage dogs and certainly for cheesesteaks. All right, number one, yes, no, where, maybe, Kevin. The Jensen Beach post-16 team was the best team you've ever played on.
Yes.
Well, you won it all that year, right?
Yes, we did. We did. Gosh, I mean, I can go through the lineup. It was just like yesterday. I wish you'd give me a heads up, but we had three catchers. One went to Miami. The other one went to Georgia Tech. I went to Virginia. Shortstop was like a fourth-round pick as a pitcher. Third baseman played at Florida. Center fielder played at Florida. Left fielder played at Florida. Number one pitcher, Joey Gray, pitched at Miami, pitched in the big leagues. Rusty Meacham, our number two, pitched in the big leagues. It was, and back then there was only 18 players made the team. You picked from like 5 different high schools. It's not like travel ball now. It's like if you didn't make the team out of those, 18 players, you ended up playing rec ball. So no, it was an extremely talented team.
Yep, sounds like it. All right, number two, on yes, no, where, maybe, with Kevin O'Sullivan. 2011 haunts you more than 2023.
Yes, no, or maybe. I would say maybe. They both hurt.
Well, I was there, and I was there, obviously, in 11, and my wife obviously was there in 23. But they sting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Only one team's going to win it all, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, some teams don't even get in. Certainly some teams don't make it to Omaha. But the further you go, it's almost like the pain gets that much more painful.
Yes, it's baseball's a different game. It really is. It's I hate to use the word luck, but there is a sense of luck that things got to kind of bounce your way. But no, both those years are painful still. Appreciate you bringing that up, by the way. My day was going so good until that question.
That's what I'm here for, okay? All right, finally, number three, yes, no, where, maybe, coaches make the best, catchers, make the best coaches and managers because they see the whole field.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I think, and not just the catcher, but you got to be strong up the middle. but certainly you will not win a national championship or, win at the big league level without having not just a talented catcher, but somebody that's got a presence about them that brings the whole team up to another level and gets the most out of them. And I think, going back to BT, we've had so many good catchers. Zanino, I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out. Mikey Rivera, JJ Schwartz, Marcos have already got to the big leagues, but we've always had good catching, and I think the transfer we've got 3 very good catchers right now on the roster, but we have a veteran in Bowen from TCU who has got a lot of the characteristics that BT had. So I feel really good about our catching situation, but there's no way you can win at the highest level or at the end of the year without having a guy behind the plate that has got not just ability, but the presence about him that is going to elevate everybody's game.
By the way, we were having this discussion before, Zach and I. Why did they call coaches in college and then managers in the big league level?
Good question. I think I'm going to go maybe on that too. I don't know why, but I don't know. But I've always felt like coaches are helpers. We help players get better, but we're not responsible for their success or their failures. It ultimately comes down to the player and his work ethic and his ability to put in the extra work before and after practice, and they're responsible for their careers. We can help, and we're here to navigate through different things, but that's what coaching's all about for me. I firmly believe that, and like I said, I feel great about the addition of Tommy Slater, and we're just full go right now, and can't wait for February 13th to be here right before you know it.
Yeah, actually, we may come out there on Valentine's Day. That's kind of been a tradition for us. That way, I don't have to buy any flowers, though.
I wouldn't go that route, Pat. I'd still buy the flowers.
Hey, when you've been married 26 years, you can get away with it.
I don't know about that. Listen, buy the flowers and get the year 27.
There we go. All right, my man. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break. Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. About the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
On April 7th, 2025, Gator Nation reached the mountaintop as Florida won the national championship in basketball. Now, relive every thrilling moment with Franz Beard's new book, The Golden Season, the unforgettable story behind Florida's historic 2025 title run. Feel the passion, the drama, and the glory all over again. Available now at Spurriers.com. Click the shop tab. That's Spurriers.com.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hey, here's something news for you, because I hear this all the time. People say, hey, I really miss you, you're writing and everything. Well, I'm writing, and it's on Patreon, but also I had a meeting with the guys at the Main Street newspaper, the Main Street News, which is Gainesville's newspaper now, and we're talking about getting together and having me do some stuff for them as well. So still going, man, even though I'm an old codger. But look, I love to write still. And I don't, otherwise I'm just going to be so bored. All right. That's enough about me. Let's get to our great sponsors / advertisers and talk about them for a minute. We'll start off with our good friends at Hesser and Kipke. Hesser and Kipke, with over 50 years of combined legal experience in North and Central Florida, Hesser and Kipke is your place for bankruptcy, workers' compensation, and family law. Call or text Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Okay, well, let's get to three things by Hesser and Kipke, and we'll start with number one, which is the NCAA is looking at, they're going to discuss this, targeting rules. Are they too punitive? Now, that's the interesting thing to me because none of us still have any idea what targeting really is. We know it when we see it, and then sometimes even that gets overruled. We're still a little confused about what targeting is. I mean, it's supposed to be launching with the crown of the helmet into the head and neck area, but we see it happen, and sometimes it's not called, sometimes it is called. But less punitive does concern me because the whole point of it is to not have people trying to hurt other people and themselves in the process. If you make it less punitive, guys are going to not. How do you know that it's not going to pick it up? I'm sure they have data that will tell you exactly how many fewer they have. Like, for example, we've talked about this with the kickoff rule in the NFL, which I absolutely like. I don't know why the president's not happy with it. I love it. It makes things more interesting and less injuries. Now, there's more injuries than it was under the old kickoff rules, but not the oldest kickoff rules. It's kind of, anyway. But let's see what happens there because I'll be curious to see whether they go, hey, look, this is accomplishing its goal. However, on the other hand, a guy just coming in to make a tackle and maybe a guy ducks into him and, now you're kicking him out of a game. He's a big factor. Is that fair to the team? Is it fair to the person? Is it fair to the player? Is it fair that he gets kicked off for the first half of the next game when you're in the playoffs? These are all things that are at least worth discussing. I will say that. I think the rule is fine the way it is. I just think the definition needs to be a little bit more defined. Definitions always need to be defined. But I think, like, they've shown us at SEC Media Days before, examples of it, and even on the examples, I'll go, well, wait a minute, I don't see that as targeting. I see that as just a good hit, and then I'll say, oh, I definitely see that as targeting. They go, no, it isn't. So it's the eye of the beholder for a lot of things. Anyway, we'll see how this. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's get to number two on our Hesser and Kipke three things, and that is that Jason Williams. Of course, we know Jason very well. Played 20 games of Florida basketball before getting kicked out for hitting the pipe. But look, he's a great player, no doubt about it, and one of the best players ever played at Florida, even though he only played 20 games. Anyway, I don't know why I insisted on doing that, but his rookie jersey was sold to a private dealer. I think by his father sold it, so they're trying to make a little money. $140,000 it went for, and back then you only had two uniforms. You wore a road uniform and a home uniform, and it wasn't like you could, you were dishing them all out all the time. Anyway, Jason Williams says, I want to meet the guy who paid $140,000 for it. He's interested in maybe sitting down with him and talking to him. Why would you pay that much? But hey, I wouldn't pay that much, but I get the value in something like that. I mean, Jason Williams was unbelievable as a rookie, and fun to watch. I mean, it kind of got us into the NBA here. Let's get to number three on our Hesser and Kipke three things, which is another defection from the Live Tour, Patrick Reed. My first reaction was, no, you're okay over there. We liked keeping you over there where you couldn't bother anybody and tick off anybody and not playing many majors. But if he wants to come back over, I don't blame him. I wish everybody would and we could unite the tours, but I think that a lot of guys, and even DeChambeau has hinted that, look, eventually I'm going to come back. We know that. But I think a lot of these guys get over there and go, this is exactly what it looks like on TV. It's just a carnival. It nobody can figure out the scoring. It doesn't look like professional golf with the guys in shorts. I mean, it is. It looks like a college tournament, appearance wise. You got music playing. It's not good. And when I go to watch it and start to watch it, I never stay with it for more than one shot. I go, this isn't what I want to watch. And I also have some other feelings, but I've told people before, if somebody comes to me and offers me $100 million to go play golf over in different places, and some of it in the United States, and they may have done some bad things. We all know they probably did. I don't know. I'd have to make a tough decision, but that's not happening, so I'm not going to make that decision. But it would be hard. I mean, it'd be hard. Anyway, Patrick Reed has decided, after he cashed in pretty good still, but then he's got to do all the punitive stuff, I would imagine, like Kepka did. But Kepka playing this week, that kind of makes me excited, and I'm not a big Kepka fan because obviously he's a Knoll. But I think everybody will be ready. Believe me, he'll be coming back to a lot of people that are going to be excited about it. I wonder if he'll get any negative. We'll see. All right, let's move along and appreciate our friends at Hesser and Kipke for the three things. Our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Adams Ribco is the place to go. In fact, that's where I talked to the guys from Main Street News, Mike Dame and JC. We had a great conversation there. It went about 2 hours, and we were so comfortable, and everybody treated us so great there. The food was amazing, as it always is. It's a place to go, Adams Ribco. Our Gator of the Week is, and we talked about her on Monday, but Anna Danilina, former Gator tennis player, is now in the finals of the Australian Open doubles. That's cool. You get a grand slam, and I mean, you get one, and it's a big deal. I mean, I know there's some people with, Lisa Raymond's got a bunch in doubles. And of course, we all know what Martina and Chrissy and all them and Serena have done, but you get a grand slam, it's a big deal. So we'll keep an eye on that. She's playing again tomorrow, Friday, okay? But they don't know the time. So if you want to watch it, it may be at 4 a.m, but it could be at like 9 a.m. So if you want to watch it, might be some good early morning tennis on. But just keep an eye on that as far as them setting the time. But at any rate, Anna Danilina is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. Of course, we had a winner, Harold Hyman, and I sent it out yesterday, okay? $25 at Leonardo's. We appreciate them as always. So let's get to our quick pick, and that will be it. I'm giving you throwing you a little bit of a curveball here. Michigan State, ranked on rank, really good game. It's at Michigan State. Michigan is favored by 1.5 points. These are two of the best teams in the country. It's a game must-see TV if you like basketball, must-see TV if you like college sports. But that's the game I'm giving you to qualify. Michigan giving 1.5 points at Michigan State. Interesting bet there. So that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. Let's move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Brought to you by our friends at BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialists. Achieve and maintain with BMI TeleMed. Give them a call at 727-383-1677, and you will get a discount on your order, your first order, if you tell them Patrick Dooley sent you. All right. Our smart move of the week are coaches like P. Golding, who are just cheating. That's what they're doing. They're saying, hey, we're not going to have rules. We're going to cheat. They're apparently not, it's not just this Ole Miss Clemson deal that they're battling about. There's another situation where Ole Miss was tampering with a kid from another school. I can't even remember which one it was, but it might have been Arkansas. But anyway, they're apparently saying, look, if they're not going to apply the rules, we're going to violate them. And maybe that's a smart move. I mean, are you going to get in trouble for it? I don't know. Nobody knows. And you might as well. You're a first-time head coach, okay? This is your first full season as a head coach. You want the best team you can possibly put out and show what you can do. If they come back and give you like a little a tampering thing, and we're gonna, like if the SEC goes, we're going to slap you on the wrist. Yeah, okay, just win, baby. That's the way it works. All right, that's our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the week. Let us move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the week. Gallo Car Wash is where we get our cars washed, and I actually was looking at mine, and I need to get in there today. I don't know. I think because the wind has been blowing hard, and our yard's getting a little, this time of year, you get a little crinkly out there, and I think it was blowing a lot of stuff on there. But Gallo Car Wash is the place to go. Our sponge of the week, we're going to give it to the Florida Gator basketball team, and here's why. When you can soak up 28 assists, that's pretty good basketball, and that's what they did last night. Thomas Houck was asked about it, and he said 28 assists is crazy. And I said, you're absolutely right. You don't get that. I mean, you have games where you may have 9 assists, but 28 assists means you were sharing the ball. And if you watch the game, they were doing an incredible job of sharing the ball and making extra passes and getting the best shots possible, which is why they go in. The better you execute and pass the ball, the more likely the ball is going to go in. I think Sean Miller said that last night after their loss. Anyway, so the Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week is Florida's basketball team. Let us move along. It is time for this, that, and the other.
What do you want? This, that, and the other.
Okay, this, that, and the other is brought to you, as you know, by our good friends at Notary Joe Newton. I actually saw Joe Newton. We met for the first time. Well, it's all been on the phone, but I saw him at the basketball game on Saturday, the Auburn game, which we don't want to talk about the game. 863-990-4884, the number to call to get Joe Newton a mobile notary. If you need stuff notarized, he'll come right to your house and get it done for you. It is also brought to you by our good friends at Darshackow Insurance. Darshackow Insurance for all your home, auto, and commercial life needs. And by the Atlanta Hustle, the Southeast Ultimate Frisbee Pro franchise. The Atlanta Hustle, they get it done.
Oh, sure. Of course, you're entitled. Who doesn't want this, that, and the other?
The announcement that was made after the game this weekend on Sunday, right? Yeah, Sunday was, in the NFL, that Bo Nix had broken his ankle, was out for the year. And kind of weirdly, how Sean Payton kind of came out there and announced this after he'd already done his interview and everybody was kind of leaving. Anyway, I didn't think much of it though. That is that then Sean Payton came out and did another press conference and he said, this is a chronic problem. It's something that's going to happen to him again. It's going to continue. It was just a matter of time. Degenerative ankle. He's talking about and listed the number of surgeries he's had. And the other is, and then Bo Nix came out and goes, I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate you talking about things. And some of this isn't true that you're talking about my medical history. Is there no HIPAA? I guess because it's not a school, but I thought your stuff like that is supposed to be, maybe you sign a waiver, but anyway, there is definitely friction, and there's friction between Sean Payton and every human being that he's ever come in contact with. It's one reason I root against Denver. He's not a warm and fuzzy guy. But Bo Nix is a big part of that. The quarterback coach in between them is kind of the buffer. And he's up for a job, so we'll see what happens there. And I'm blanking on his name, the quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator not the offensive coordinator because he just got fired. There's a quarterback coach. So that is this, that, and the other. Just keep an eye on what's going on in Denver. It is a strange mixture of personalities. All right, so let us get to our Swamp games of the weekend to wrap things up here. Swamp Restaurant, the place to go to watch any games, and there's a lot of them to watch. And I know like I said, my niece and her family are going to be down there tomorrow. Going to have a little pre-gymnastics brunch and have a great time. All right, Gymnastics tonight. Tomorrow night, 7:15 again, and that's on ESPN2. Saturday, there's a lot of good basketball to watch. BYU at Kansas, 4:30 on ESPN. That's ranked on ranked crime there. Kentucky, Arkansas. Now that'll be fun. Calipari hosting his former team. But, I know that happens every year, but it's still fun to watch. 6:30 on ESPN. Two programs that are still trying to figure things out. I mean, just when you thought Kentucky had figured it out, they got just destroyed by Vanderbilt. So, and Arkansas has got so many good players. I mean, just so many good athletes. That's going to be a tough out for somebody. Anyway, that'll be a good game. That is on at 6:30 on ESPN. Vandy at Ole Miss is on at 8:30 on the SEC network. Ole Miss is kind of a weird team too. Auburn at Tennessee, 8:30 on ESPN. So you got a lot of basketball to watch if you're like me and you're into the SEC. Of course, Sunday, Florida plays Alabama. That is 1 o'clock, and it's on ABC if you're looking for it. Also that day, because there's no football, Illinois at Nebraska is 4 o'clock. That's another ranked top 10 teams there. That's on FS1. The Farmers Open is all going on all weekend. On Saturday and Sunday, it's going on from 1 to 3 on the Golf Channel, and then 3 to went to conclusion on CBS. That's both Saturday and Sunday. Women play there. I did write it down. Women play at Vandy on Sunday, so they're not here. I'm sorry about that, but they do play Texas tonight here at 7 o'clock. They play at Vandy Sunday at 4 o'clock. I think they're both on the plus. I couldn't really find. It's hard to find some of that information. Anyway, all right. I think that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate everybody for being part of this. And we do have one more sponsorship thing that is open if somebody wants to get involved with us. Although I did get a text the other day, so maybe maybe it's not open. But if give me a call if you know how to reach me, patrickdooley54@gmail.com, and that is where you send any Leonardo's and Millhopper quick pixes. What's the plural of pix? P-I-X. Pixies. There we go. All right, that's going to do it. We'll be back with another show on Monday. Reese Davis will join us. That'll be a lot of fun. Until then, for another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep way back, and I am out of here.